What's up, gaming fans? It is Preach as always. So today we're going to go over several things about the beta. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons from what I have seen so far. I know this runs through tomorrow, but I need to do this video today because I have to go back to work from the long holiday weekend starting tomorrow. So the things I want to discuss, we're going to talk about the pros first, because that's going to be a shorter list, not in that there's less pros. There are just as many pros as cons, but they require less explanation. If I say something is good, that's pretty much really all that there needs to be said about it. The stuff that's bad, I want to explain why so that it maybe makes more sense. In the one-off chance, like the 1 in 14 billion chance that a developer sees this video, maybe gives them some insight into why I'm saying something is bad, not just complaining off the cuff. So before we jump into all of that, if you guys like this video, you already know what to do. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and turn those bell notifications on if you want to know every time I post a new video. So let's jump into this first, the good. The good is this feels like a Treyarch game, and that is good. Now, there are aspects because of the newer engine that feel similar to MW2 and MW3 that we just had, but all in all, this feels like a Treyarch game. I think that is partially due to the 3-lane map design, but just the way the weapons work, all of that, it feels like Treyarch. And I'm a big Treyarch fan. I think most people are big Treyarch fans. Not everybody, but most people. And so overall, I think that that is a win. The next thing is the Omni movement. I think is really well done. I was expecting with a brand new movement system for it to feel really clunky and awkward. And trust me, if you haven't played yet, your first few matches, you are going to feel really clunky and awkward. But it doesn't take much to get used to, and then it feels pretty natural and smooth and just kind of like it's always been that way. And I think it may even make other CODs feel a little bit restricted in movement once you go back to it. Now, I can give you the advice. You might want to use your auto sprint or even your auto mantle options if you don't want to be wearing out your fingers from a lot of button presses, but you still want to take full advantage of the Omni movement. But it is a learning curve for sure, but easier one than I expected. What I really expect is months from now, when the game has been out for a while, people who are really into movement are going to be able to do some wild things. Right now, to me, it's actually not that hard to track people moving with the Omni movement, but they may become harder to track as they get better at the movement. So I'm not sure if it's just easier because it's a beta and everybody's not that incredible with it yet, or if it's just not as hard to track as I was anticipating. Most of the maps have really good visuals. There is an exception to the good visuals that I'll go into in the negatives, but you know, the visuals look pretty good. You can see people distinctly. The maps themselves are pretty. Things like that I think is a plus. And then sniping is satisfying. It feels satisfying to get a kill. And I mentioned this in the other video, but sniping is kind of slow throughout this beta with the rifle that we got. But overall, I actually think that's a good thing for sniping fans because it's going to get sniping complained on much less on Twitter and social media, which means hopefully they will not do things to make it worse or to hurt us because there's not a bunch of loud people talking about it. So now let's move on over to the cons or the negative side of this. And we're going to start with the biggest thing, packet burst. Packet burst is awful, and I'm really hoping this is just a beta issue, but here's my fear. I don't think it is, because I dealt with packet burst really bad all throughout Modern Warfare 3. The game was good, but I dealt with packet burst pretty much anytime there was an update, whether that was an NVIDIA update, an update to the game, any kind of update anywhere. Once I would install new shaders, I would deal with packet burst for like a week. And then they would kind of get it under control. I wouldn't really have packet burst for a couple weeks, and then either NVIDIA or the game itself would update again, and I would go right back to having really bad packet burst. Well, throughout this beta, pretty much every match has moments of horrible packet burst, moments where I transport, 30, 40 yards across the map, or moments where my gun doesn't shoot, or moments where I thought I single tapped to shoot with an auto gun and bursted, 20 bullets. Just weird stuff with the packet burst, aim delay. One of the biggest things, and this is kind of a packet burst issue, I believe, as well, because it's definitely something to do with the servers. But sometimes you'll get that inconsistent feeling of like, yeah, it's maybe 4 bullets with pretty much every AR to kill someone or to get killed, but it'll feel like the enemy like two tapped you and you died. What happened there on their end, they shot the 4 bullets, but your server didn't pick up on that until the last 2 bullets of it, and it feels like you got insta killed and feels unfair. That's just completely the server, and it's a lot of these packet burst issues, and I'm hoping that that stuff gets fixed ASAP. Another big thing I want to talk about, because I've never experienced this in a Call of Duty game before this one, is it is really jarring to die. Like, you get shot and killed, and there's like massive visual recoil on the screen. The way your character falls, the way the camera moves out, the noise that it makes, it's jarring, like messes with my actual equilibrium, in real life, especially when wearing headphones. I played with just the speakers on my computer, and I noticed that that effect is not quite as jarring. But with the visuals and the sound while you're wearing headphones, it is very jarring to die. And I hope that they tone that down a little bit, mostly just because it's going to mess with me and make me not able to play as long, because it genuinely, it messes with my head. I don't care for that. The other thing, the gas in the game can be pretty strong, and there's no perk that I've seen, and maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there'll be more in the full release of the game, but through the beta, there's no perk that's like attack mask. And what gives me fear that we may not get a perk like Attack Mask is that Cold War had really powerful gas mines that would hold you up, make you not able to move, kill you, and there was no Attack Mask available in Cold War at all. And so I'm afraid Treyarch is not going to give us one again. And that is one area where me and Treyarch drastically disagree. If you're going to have something in the game, a piece of equipment, something like that, there should be an option where I can choose something in my loadout if I want to counter that particular gameplay style. And there is nothing to counter the gas mask, or excuse me, the gas, like a gas mask, attack mask, something like that. So that's kind of really annoying to me, honestly. I was going to say kind of annoying, but really it's really annoying. Another thing, and this is kind of something I expect to fade out after the beta is over, but the Jackal SMG, especially the variant that you get for having bought the Vault edition of the game, is very overpowered. It's actually obnoxiously good. I've used it and felt that on my end. I've played against it. 90% of the lobby is running with it, which to their credit, there's not a whole lot of guns available during the beta, but it is very OP. And that kind of makes it hard to get a good feel for how the whole game balances out in a beta when you have one gun that is primarily the dominant gun and most people are using it. So I just don't think that should have been in the beta myself. I was saying earlier in the video that we were going to talk about the one map that I didn't like the visuals of, and that is the Derelict map. The reason I don't is it's a lot of clutter, and I have a hard time seeing people on this map. And maybe you're going to be like, preach, that's just your old man eyes. And you honestly, you might be right. But I have a hard time, especially when people are in like the broken railway cars, and I'm coming from like somewhere outside of them. I can't pick them out of that. A lot of times they'll shoot me and kill me, and I never see them. And speaking of things that I can't see players, this is something I expect to work out in our own minds over time. But with this whole being able to go in different positions while you're on the ground, laying on your back is something you've never been able to do in Call of Duty before. So naturally, my brain, when I see players laying on their back, I want to think that that's a dead body and just move on. And if the name doesn't pop up above their head right away, that's generally what happens. And then I get shot and killed and go, where was that guy? And then realize it was the dead body I walked past, because it's not actually someone dead. They're just laying on their back with their gun up, ready to shoot. And that's something I think we'll get used to over time, but my brain does that because generally the only way you would see players before on the ground would be in that true prone position. So that's something that has been a problem for me here in the beta, probably a dozen or so times where I've just ran past somebody I thought was dead. I do expect that to be like a mental catch up thing, not an actual problem in the long run, but I still wanted to give it a mention here today. Overall, this has been a long video, so I just want to go ahead and sum this up. Do I think the game is worth buying? Absolutely, I do. And if you are already a Game Pass subscriber, it is definitely worth downloading. I think we're in for a good year. Obviously, the matchmaking system is what it is with Call of Duty. I don't even feel like addressing that anymore. It's a dead horse, and there's no reason to keep beating it. But overall, the gameplay feels very good. This is probably the most fun I've had on a beta in quite some time. So let me know if you guys have played it. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have, you already know what to do. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and turn those bell notifications on if you want to know every time I post a new video. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Preach out.